Welcome to my spell guide for the Warlock. In this video I'm going to talk about the Warlock's exclusive spells. Before I start, two things I want to talk about. The first one is the excellent guide from the Throne of Odin, the PQ3 spell guide. Here you can check all the different spells in the game and where to find them. So for example, in this video I'm going to talk about the Warlock exclusive spells, which is this column right here. And let's say that for example you want to farm pestilent imps. So we check here at the left on this row, and is dungeon number 8, the Doomhold. Just remember that you need to open a chest with the right class equipped in order to get that class exclusive spells. The second thing I want to talk about is that in this video I'm just going to talk about my opinions. This game has many different pieces of equipment and spells, and if you have a high level spell book and scrolls and good gear, you can make pretty much any build work. So take my comments as my opinions. This is not divine wisdom. This is just my opinion. Take them with a pinch of salt. So let's start talking about the class. The Warlock's main color is purple and the secondary color is red, which means that at level 50 you will have 100 additional purple mastery and 50 additional red mastery for this class. It also means that you will have 5 exclusive purple spells, 3 exclusive red spells, 1 green, 1 yellow, and 1 blue. So let's start with the dark spells in alphabetical order. The first one is Burning Darkness. For 110 mana, you can burn and blind the enemy for 6 turns, plus 1 turn for each imp gem on the board. This base number increases depending on the rarity of the spell. As you can see, it maxes out at 8 turns. And if the enemy is withered, deals fire damage. Now, wither is a debuff that you can put on your opponents that will double the effects of their negative status effects. And wither is also an effect that you can trigger by exploding one of your imp gems. So very interesting, very solid spell. Blind will have their physical damage, and this spell would be great if it wasn't for Eldritch Blast that I'm going to talk about a little bit later. But yeah, great spell on paper. The next one is Dark Firebolt. Deal dark damage plus a percentage for each purple or red gem on the board, and also burn the enemy. This percentage increases depending on the rarity. This is a nuke spell very similar to the Assassin's Nightblade or the blue common Frostbolt. It's the kind of spell that increases the damage depending on the number of color gems. In this case, it's either purple or red. However, being this spell purple and costing 210 mana, which is not a small amount, I don't really think it's that useful for a multicolored build. Now, I have a build with Dark Firebolt as main source of damage, which is the purple elemental Warlock build. Please have a look at that video. But basically it's the same idea with any other nuke spell, as I said, like the Assassin's Nightblade. You can use the same equipment and you can use the same idea behind it. The difference is another spell that you have with the Warlock, which is Tentacle Slap, which I will talk about a little bit later. Next we have Eldritch Blast, and I love this spell. This is the spell that I use for my Purple Burn build that I also have a video about. This was the first build that I uploaded a video about, and is the build I use for the boss rush in the events, especially by using essences, which I also have another video about. It only costs 105 mana, it burns the opponent, it deals damage, and if the opponent is burning, it generates purple gems, which is excellent in order to generate double stuns. You can do a double stun and therefore bypass boss's stun resistance gems. If you stun once with a spell, such as Tentacle Slap, and then stun again in the same round with a row. And the fact that this spell generates purple gems is going to increase your chances to get a stunning row. And that is why I love this spell. And this is one of the reasons I consider it's not that Burning Darkness is bad, it's just that Eldritch Blast is so much better in a pure burn build, and Dark Firebolt is so much better in an elemental build that Burning Darkness, it just gets overshadowed by the other two spells. Can you use them in addition to them? Yes, but I mean, I don't think they are that useful altogether. Next, we have Sacrificial Pawns for 130 purple mana, removes all imp gems from the board, heals a specific amount, plus, as you can see, the amount of life increases the percentage for each imp by the rarity of the spell, and it also adds resistance. Can you use this spell? Yes. Do I like it? No, not at all. Healing is not particularly good unless you heavily invest in increasing your health points and your vitality, which means that you have to sacrifice other areas like your armor, for example, and armor is much more useful than hit points. And the added resistance is not that good. So yeah, I don't really see any reason to use this spell. And removing all imps, hello, no. What I want is to cast imps so I can increase the damage of burn, not to remove them in exchange for a very small increase in resistance and healing. So, in my opinion, completely useless spell. And finally, we have Tentacle Slap. And Tentacle Slap is great. It deals stack damage and it has a chance to stun. Now, the chance is not guaranteed, however. At maximum rarity, it has 11%, but even at Epic Plus, which is the rarity that I have it right now, 8% per purple gem. Yeah, if you have 15 purple or red gems on the board, it's gonna stun, okay? And this is a great, great spell. And in fact, I have 3 builds with Warlock. I have a pure burn build, I have an elemental build, and I have a physical build. And I use Tentacle Slap on all 3 of them. It's that good. It's a stun on command, pretty much. It can also be used on a rainbow build. So yeah, Tentacle Slap is excellent. Next, we have the 3 red spells. The first one is Abyssal Channel for 115 red mana, gain power, and create a mix of purple and red gems, plus 1 for each imp on the board. Increasing power is very good, obviously. Creating a mix of purple and red gems, this requires having a mix between red and purple build that, it can work. But yeah, generally speaking, having a single element is more powerful. And just the Warlock has so many good dark spells that just mixing red for this increase in power is not that good. Also, in the previous season, in 4.1, we got this spell, Climb the Peak, which increases power. And it has an excellent synergy with Dark Eyes. So yeah, before this, increasing power as purple was limited to Deep Magic, which it also increased power but a small amount. Now Climb the Peak is much better. So I don't really see the need to use a mixed color build. And if you want to use Abyssal Channel on a pure red build, which is also an option to increase your power, then you're going to be generating purple gems at the same time, which is not exactly what you want. So yeah, not very useful in my opinion. Next we have Hellfire Gate for 135 red mana, burn the enemy for 4 turns, and reduce their power by 911. Well, this number depends on your power and mastery per each imp gem on the board. And there is also a chance to create an extra imp gem. Very interesting spell. Reducing the opponent's power is a very useful mechanic, especially when you start. So at the early game, maybe not so much. Mid game, very useful. Late game, maybe not that useful because enemies tend to have a lot of mastery and a lot of physical damage. So reducing the power will definitely reduce their damage, but not as much. So let me give you an example of a level 100 enemy. Let's start this one. And this enemy, which is, oh, I'm invisible for some reason. Okay. Oh yeah, because I don't have a weapon equipped. I think that's the reason why. Anyway, the opponent has 14,000, well, almost 14,500 power and 43, almost 44,000 damage. So, if I was going to reduce the power down to 0, it will reduce the damage from almost 44,000 down to 30, well, 29,000 and something. So this is definitely a big reduction. Also for its spell, instead of 46,000 dark damage, it would deal 31,000. So yes, reducing the opponent's power is useful, but above level 100 enemies, the impact is not that big. So it's something that you need to keep in mind. I'm gonna leave so it doesn't bug out because, yeah, I don't have any weapon. Oh yeah, I have this one. Okay, I don't know why that happened, honestly. But if we go to my main build, for example, where I have a level 50 attack scroll or offense scroll. Now, this weapon is not maxed out. As you can see, the damage is not even close to max. I need to refine this weapon a lot. But if you go to my stats, you will see that my power is only 3,300, but my physical damage is 12,000. So if you were going to reduce my power, because it cannot be reduced below 0, yeah, you will reduce my physical damage down to 9,000. Again, with this build, it wouldn't make any difference because this is an elemental build. No, I'm not using the physical damage of my weapon. But what I'm trying to say is that reducing the power is very, very useful at the early and mid stages of the game. But as you get to the big guns, the really big enemies, is not that good. So yeah, interesting spell. And the chance to generate an extra imp gem is very good because at maximum rarity is 90%. So something to consider, especially if you're going to use the next spell, Imp Raid. Deal fire damage plus an additional percentage for each imp gem on the board. Now, this spell is similar to the spell that I mentioned before, the purple one, Dark Firebolt, in the sense that it deals a fixed amount of damage plus a percentage for each color gem. So Dark Firebolt or the Assassin's Nightblade, that it also increases damage. Where are you? Right here. It also increases damage by a percentage for each color gem. Or Frostbolt, which also increases damage depending on the number of blue gems, like this one. So this one for the Warlock, the red one, is interesting in the sense that instead of being color gems, it increases the damage depending on imp gems. Now here's the issue. Generating imps is very easy if you're playing dark builds. Why? Because if you use 4 pieces of equipment from the night set, you get, I'm gonna keep this one and this one, boots and the ring. Okay? Come on. All right. If you have 4 pieces of equipment from the night set, you have a chance to increase your ultimate spell mana by 75%. This is the chance to increase your ultimate spell mana by 10 points. So multiply this times 4 because it's 4 spells per turn. On average, that is 30 mana for your ultimate spell. However, the 2 set will generate 2 purple gems. Will have an 85% chance to generate 2 purple gems. So using this set with any color but purple is not very good because you are going to end up with lots of purple gems that you don't need or want. You can also use, together with this, a Kasduli crossbow that will also increase your ultimate spell mana. It says power, but it's 20 points to your ultimate spell power whenever you match a big 5 gem of its color. So you can use this one with a red build to increase the rate at which you can generate imp gems. And you can also use this other spell, Hellfire Gate, together with it, so you have a chance to generate extra imp gems. But at the end of the day, with an elemental color build such as the one I showed you before with the Dark Firebolt, it is relatively easy, especially when playing purple, to get 40 gems of that color on the board. And that will increase the damage well, if it's 10%, that is going to be 400% damage increase. How many imp gems can you reliably put on the board? Even if it's 11% for each, maybe in 3 rounds, 4 rounds, maybe you can have 6. Maybe in 7, 8 rounds, you can have 10. So you are going to increase the damage by 110%. Yes, it's doable. But in my opinion, if you want a good red elemental build, just go for the mercenary. The red Searing Strike build is not great, but it's good enough. And this spell is going to increase the damage depending on the number of red gems on the board. Again, if you can make 30 red gems on the board, 3 times 8, that's 240% additional damage. So this is going to be much better than a red Warlock build. It is doable, and yeah, these two spells work together, but they are not going to be as strong as the red Searing Strike mercenary or any of the other elemental builds. And on top of that, with the Warlock, if you play purple, not only have much higher damage potential with Dark Firebolt, but you have Tentacle Slap, which gives you a lot of survivability. So, yes, you can do a red build, but keep in mind those limitations. Next, let's talk about the blue spell, which is Call of the Deep Ones. Call the Deep Ones, excuse me. 110 blue mana, deal dark damage, okay. Remove all blue gems, okay. And then for each imp gem on the board, gain spell power. Again, it says spell power, but what it really means is spell mana. So can you use this spell together with the red ones to generate a lot of ultimate spell mana and then generate a lot of imps and deal a lot of damage with your... Yes, you can. But it's really, really convoluted. Okay, so yes, it's something that you can do. But now we are talking about 2 different elements. And maybe a third one if you want to include Tentacle Slap, so you can have a dark spell as well. So yeah, doable, but a bit overcomplicated. For green, we have Demonic Grasp. 115 green mana, deal dark damage, and gain regeneration. Dealing dark damage, okay, that's good if you are going to combine it with a dark build. Regeneration is not particularly good. Again, healing is not as good as increasing your armor. Yeah, the fact that it deals not poison damage but dark damage instead, yeah, you can make it work in a multicolored build, but otherwise not that useful. And definitely not very useful in a green mono build. And finally, for yellow, we have Pestilent Imps. For 140 yellow mana, converts green gems to purple and blue gems to red. Okay, this is interesting. All spells that generate mana for different colors than themselves. But keep in mind that this is going to generate purple and red. So this is intended for a purple, red, and yellow build. That's quite complicated to pull off, okay? And then there is a chance to create an extra imp gem, and that chance increases depending on your spellbook level. So at maximum level it will be 80%, which is pretty good. To generate an extra imp gem and inflict disease, and disease makes your opponents lose ultimate spell power, spell mana, because on PvP this is only for their minions spells. The problem with disease is that it only decreases the mana for one random spell if they have multiple spells. So if they only have one spell, excellent, you're preventing them from casting spells. But if they have two or more, it's only going to affect one random spell, so not that useful. So yes, an interesting spell on paper, but do you really want to play with 3 colors? Or maybe 4. I mean, maybe just add the the green one as well and go full rainbow. Yeah, a little bit too complicated. I like the fact that just like the shaman, the warlock has the imp mechanic is embedded in all of the 5 colors. So you have spells that interact with the imp mechanic, just like the shaman has one spell of each color that can inflict juju. But in reality, yeah, the purple warlock is so good by itself that any other color is going to lose a lot. Again, you can go for an elemental red build if you use Imp Raid together with Hellfire Gate and 2 mana generators, like for example, if you want to use Burning Hands, and the other one that you can use could be Channel Fire or could be Scorching Ray. Yeah, it can be a decent red elemental build if you really like the Warlock. But otherwise, it's just that Purple Warlock is so good, it's so versatile, and it has a stun on demand with Tentacle Slap that is really hard to justify using any other color with him. But anyway, that is my video about the Warlock exclusive spells. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.